Let's start then. We have some people here already on
Yes, yeah.
YouTube. Okay, so Dr. Jihan, the idea, thank you. First of all, thank you for, accepting my invitation to talk to me about some of the issues. We are all going through some interesting times these days with regards to COVID-19 and coronavirus. Everybody is staying at home, including researchers or, PhD students or, MS students or even assistant professors. Everybody is pretty much stuck at home around the world. And I'm very active on Facebook, as you know, with other students from around the world. These questions arise on different type of groups related to research. How do we work during these times, or how to keep our productivity, work-life balance, a lot of stuff. But some of the questions are also evergreen. Some questions we look at on these groups, they are asked all the time. So I thought of maybe doing a quick question and answer session, and we'll see how the response is. If the response is good, maybe we can do it every 2 weeks or every month, once every month, to just talk about different things that people are facing with regards to research. So I shared a link on Facebook asking people if they would be interested in something like this. If yes, share some questions so that we can talk about them. And it was very interesting. We got quite a few questions. So what we'll do is I'll ask you some of these questions. We'll see how do you think about them. And then since we are live on Facebook and YouTube, we'll also see if people have some questions, they can ask us on either YouTube or Facebook, preferably YouTube, because it's easier to manage one stream, so we can continue the discussion. Dr. Jan, before I go ahead and ask some questions, how about you tell us a little bit about what you do these days? For those of you who do not know Dr. Jihan is a full professor at the College of Hospitality and Tourism Leadership, University of South Florida. He is my colleague. He is also my mentor, and I'm very proud to say that he is like my elder brother as well. Dr. Jihan is also heading multiple journals. One of them is published by Emerald, which is Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology, recently indexed into SSCI. And also Dr. Jihan is heading an organization called ANAHE, which connects different type of programs around the world in regards to education. So bringing research scholars to the US, also sending scholars from US to other countries. He's also a Fulbright specialist. He does a lot of stuff. So maybe what I'll do is I'll let Dr. Jihan talk a little bit about himself. What does he do? What is he working on these days? And then we can continue with the questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Faizan. I'm very happy to be here in your channel. And I would like to also thank you for everything you're doing for the research world, for research field. You are creating very nice content for the young researchers. I also very proud that you are part of University of South Florida, and I'm very, very happy uh, to be designated by you as your mentor, and it's a great feeling. Just like you said, I work at the University of South Florida. I'm the McKibben Endowed Chair Professor and also the director of the M3 Center, which you are also part of it as the coordinator. You see on my behind screen, m3center.org is the website, plus anahe.org also. That's the organization that connects, serves as a bridge between different organizations. Currently, as everybody knows, of course, this coronavirus has disrupted life all around the world. It's the obviously for all of us in our lifetime, that's the most single item that really created a huge disruption. But we learn to live with it. I was lucky as a teacher role, right? I have different roles. One of them is a professor, and I was teaching two online courses. So for me, not many things were changed, but from the research side, we had to stop some of the stuff that we were doing. For example, I was just involved in a research study about virtual reality. So we had a research that was going on, which we collected about 70 data where we were going to a hotel and asking people to watch a destination on a random basis on a three-dimensional virtual reality device. And then we were asking that person if they would like to visit that destination, etc. We were doing the same research with the also two-dimensional. The idea, as you can imagine, that they understand if the virtual reality had any impact on people's desire to visit a destination. Today, obviously, because of social distancing, we had to stop that research. But there is a lot of different research that we are doing. You and I and Sam, our graduate student, are working on uh, about coronavirus Twitter feed. We were doing a big data study right now, so that's going on. And on the other hand, we are also working on several other coronavirus, the impact of coronavirus on the travel and travel behavior as well. So, and many people are working on that, which is great because that's a huge problem. Not only currently what the industry is behaving or reacting to it, but in my opinion, even more important after coronavirus is over, what will happen to the industry? The way that we are going to do things is going to be very different. There is no question about it. But we, as the researchers, need to come up with solutions, not just in hospitality and tourism industry, but in a variety of different industries. Also, a couple of other research projects that I'm working on with one of the visiting scholars that we have, Sedan Doğan. She's excellent. And we are working on what makes people choose a hotel over another. Again, this research study was designed before Corona become part of our lives. But now we are thinking about adding some additional. We always know that price, location, cleanness, maybe Wi-Fi, those are the important things for people to choose a hotel. But today, maybe some other things come into the picture. Social distancing of a hotel, the cleanness of the hotel in terms of disinfecting the room. Some people just yesterday, one of my colleagues told me that he is going to travel by car, obviously not plane now, by car, but he was even afraid to stay in a hotel because he's like, what happens if somebody before me stayed in the hotel that had a coronavirus? So those are the things that we need to include. That also we are working on smart technologies with another visiting scholar, Gözde Türk Tarhan, another excellent visiting scholar that M3 Center, the one that you see on my behind, is hosting. So those are, Faizan, those are the general things that I'm working on to summarize them.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Jain. In fact, like you talk about how things change with coronavirus. I was looking at one discussion on Facebook on one of the groups, which was very interesting because everybody is talking about the impact of coronavirus or COVID-19 in negative terms, right? How has it impacted the economy? How has it impacted the travel and tourism and all these different type of things? But then somebody asked me, that what do you think about coronavirus's positive impacts? How has it increased personal interactions, even if it's on Zoom? Like, you think about it, people are staying at home and it's really frustrating for many people staying at home. I know you travel a lot, like you travel every month, twice or thrice, and staying at home for now a month, it really puts you in a very different state of mind. So you have to think about, people are coming with very unique ideas with regards to this COVID-19 coronavirus. I also see that now when you go out somewhere for your groceries or buying things, your definition of service quality has also changed. Now you look at things like how much distance that they put on the, checkout lanes or lines, or are they cleaning the trolleys or carts before they hand them over to you, or is the staff wearing gloves, or are they wearing facial masks or things like this, which is really interesting if you think about how things have changed so quickly with regards to coronavirus. So thank you very much for telling us what you are doing, what you are working on these days, and I'm pretty sure that people would have got some ideas from your discussion. So let's get into the questions that we have. We have got some questions from my post on Facebook, but then I'm also getting some questions in YouTube, which is a lot. So I think we better start with those questions.
Right.
Okay, so Dr. Jan, these questions are like really mixed up. So I don't know, maybe we'll answer some of them. Some of them would be left. I don't know how it would be. But let's start with some generic questions. There was a question that said, how can I improve my academic writing? This person has moved from industry into academia. And this person also wrote that he is very okay with writing for blogs or newspapers or things like this. But then now moving into academia, it's very difficult to shift the writing from normal writing into academic writing. How can we improve that?
Right. This is a great question. Faizan, this person asked this question, but I also was in that particular situation myself. So when I came to United States in 1996, so almost 24 years ago, 6 years ago, um, I have also had the same challenge. And today, we have a master's program where students all of a sudden starts to do research, academic research from, for example, in undergraduate, they're writing research papers, but they are not really research papers, so to speak. So one of the things that I did to myself, and it worked for me, and I tell to my students, which works for many of them, and there's many different ways of doing this. One of them is to read academic articles. I think this is the best teacher for everybody. So what you need to do for this viewer is to find their niche, right? You can't research in everything. You cannot be expert in everything. You have to find one or two streams of research. For me, for example, if anybody knows me, they would know that my main research area is hospitality technology. You
Mm,
can call it e-tourism, smart tourism, information technology in tourism, or hospitality, hotel technology. But these are the kind of like the things that define me. And why did I choose that one is sometimes coincidence. And when I was in the industry before I joined master's program, I became an information technology director in a five-star hotel by chance. The person who was in charge left the company. The general manager asked me to take charge, and I took a lot of training, even though I was not educated in IT. That was the background. So what I did is that I start reading a lot of articles. So I suggest this person is to look at some, if that person is in hospitality or business, whatever field that might be, find some of the top journals in that area. Start reading the articles that interest you, not everything, but interest you. So if that's marketing, if that's food and beverage management, if that's big data analytics, if that's finance, if that's technology, whatever that might be, just find those articles and start reading them. As you read them, you are learning not only first the issues that people are actually tackling, because research papers try to find solutions to problems that we have. So they also learn about methods. What kind of methods have been used? Did they use quantitative analysis or qualitative analysis? Did they use interviews, surveys, also statistical tools? Did they use structural equation modeling, multiple regression, analysis of variance, those kind of things? Those are going to help the person. Oh, okay, this is how I report. This is what I do to report the results. If I'm going to SEM, these are the things that I have to note down. Or when I'm doing research, if I dump some people from my survey, let's say you collected data and 500 people, but you drop 75 people out, and people write why they drop. Maybe they say they have answered the validation question incorrectly, or they did not fill out the survey completely. Then I will say, oh, that means that when I'm doing my research, I have to note these down, because when I'm writing the methodology section in my article, I will need them. So that would be my best advice: to read, read, read academic articles though.
Thank you, Dr. Jehan. Very solid suggestions, and I think again that it would be valuable to people who are listening. Okay, so another one, which is again a generic question, would be how to manage the work-life balance, which becomes much more relevant in these last couple of months because everybody is staying at home. People who are married, having kids, kids are home, wife is home, or husband is home, parents are home, so everybody is home. And then with all that, you have additional stress of COVID-19. So how do you manage work life in this type of situation?
You know, this is a $1 million question, Faizan. I wish I knew the answer very easily. Probably I would be a millionaire now. But I can only tell you what I do, right? It's also, I agree with whoever asked this question, and I'm sure that many people, I personally, I've seen a lack of motivation in my own, as you have said earlier, that I was very used to travel. As a matter of fact, if coronavirus was not here today, that you and I would be in Turkey, attending the tourism summit in Turkey. But and then we were getting ready to go to Italy, Naples, to do our Glow Serve conference. But that didn't happen. Of course, life goes on, so we have to adapt. What I try to do is that I work on many different projects. So disruptions become a huge problem uh, in the home or even when before Corona happened. So what I try to do is, and it works for me, is that I try to focus on one thing, whatever that might be. So of course I have also a small child in my home. I have two children. One of them is grown up, but the other one is 12-year-old daughter. So what I try to do is that I try to block time that I can focus on one task only. And this is, unfortunately, this is a huge, you can even see maybe what is my screen here. Just do it. You know, I just motivate myself because I just want to say to myself that whatever that one thing that you're working on it, just do it. So try to allocate time, tell your child or wife, whoever, or husband, whoever is supporting you, that give me that 1 hour, 2 hours, and turn off the phone. You need to turn off the phone. You need to turn off the emails. You need to turn off all disruptions. Um, I forgot the name of the book, but I think it's called Deep Focus or something. There was a book. I forgot the title of the book, but that particular book also, even before Corona, I read, is talking about focusing because in our life there's so much interruptions. You can't have in your screen, let's say CNN on the right side, that you see the death people or the active cases increasing every time, and your WhatsApp, your Skype, your WeChat is working on your phone, and your email is dinging, you know, and more emails coming. That's not going to help anybody. So my recommendation is to block a time that you can focus. Then when that time is done, your task is finished, then you can go into your family, let's say, spend with 1 hour with them. So, and to do also list helps as well. And I know, Faizan, you are using them. Maybe you started to use them more often than before because of the corona, and you yourself have two small kids, and they are even more challenging than mine because they are a little bit younger and they are everywhere. They have a high energy, but it's the fact. So we got to do what we got to do, best out of this situation. That's my small advice here in terms of work-life balance, is to block a time for everybody and focus on that one and just stick to whatever that you're doing on.
Thank you very much. Yes, Dr. Jan, I actually am doing like these type of to-do lists. And, you know,
Nice.
I'm a big believer in motivation or self-kindness or self-motivation as well. Like you got to motivate yourself. I know that you are very motivational for other people, like you talk to people and all those things. I've also met other people who are very motivational, but then when it comes to your own self, you also have to motivate your own self. And I think that sometimes we ignore the power of small things. You know, to-do list, the best part about to-do list is that every time you are done with something, you cross it off your list,
Right.
and which motivates you to move further and get the other task done. So those of you who do not do to-do lists, I think it's very easy. Just start, and you can do it in multiple ways. And I do it for every day. Now, the thing is, we also have to understand that, when you write this list, you don't know what is going to happen in that day. I mean, many things can happen. So it's highly possible that you do not finish everything on that list. So instead of beating yourself up, just simply move that thing to the next day.
Next day,
Start
yeah.
with it, right? So, but I think that having something like this physically in front of you is really powerful. I also know that some people do it on their phones or on their tablets or somewhere in the laptop, which is a good thing, but in my opinion, that also distracts you. Look, the moment you pick up your phone to look at what you need to do, all of a sudden you move to another thing, and then you realize that you have spent an hour on your phone. It's the same with laptop. So having something physical, maybe a physical sticky note or something on the side of your monitor or on a wall or somewhere is really helpful. It works. So thank you again,
Yeah.
Dr. Jehan. This was a generic question. So I see that there are a lot of questions on YouTube, and many questions are related to data analysis and methodology and something like this, which I'm going to get into very soon. But I just want to get some of these general questions, and then we can move into more specific questions. So
Sure.
there is some question about what factors can improve the quality of research topics?
Okay, that's a good question as well, and that's a question that I get all the time from my students. What I say to this particular topic is that to question is that to be able to find a good topic, a good research topic. So there is different factors here, right? One of them, sometimes a student comes to my office. Now they come to my Zoom meeting, just like we are doing right now. And then they ask me that, Professor, I would like to do research. What should I study? They ask this question to me. And so when I answer this question, I also tell them about the quality factors in research is that I am, as the person's, that student's primary professor, that I am not the one who decide what you research and how you research is yourself is going to determine this. What I say is that everybody, I'm sure that you heard this from not just me, but from a lot of different people, that passion is one of the biggest things that determines, in my opinion, the quality of research. What do I mean by this? For example, I will give you one example from my own life. When I started my graduate degree, I have seen a lot of people talking about accounting field, how accounting professors make tons of money, or accounting professionals makes a lot of money, accounting research here and there. And I said, oh, maybe I should just research accounting. And I changed my focus from hospitality and tourism, going to the accounting. Shortly after that, I realized that just because somebody else says that this field is hot, good, doesn't mean that you are going to be successful in it. That's why I say this passion, finding the passion is very important. Once you find that passion, whatever that makes your heart beat harder, kind of like your love, right? When you see that person, that your heart starts beating more. Same idea. When you start thinking about that research, what makes your heart beat faster is the key passion. Once you find the passion, if you know what it is, and if you don't know what it is, that's perfectly fine too. But if you do not know, then my answer to the previous question also applies here. Read, go into the academic journals and start reading the abstracts of the articles. After you read the first 4 or 5 sentences, if that turns you off, that means that that particular field probably is not right, the area for you. If you do this 10, 20, 15 times, and then you see the same thing, let's say you're reading about accounting or information technology or whatever that might field might be. If that doesn't interest you, that means that that's not the right place for you. And you will find it, whatever that might be. Once you find it, again, what determines quality is the knowledge. You need to read as much as possible. You need to feel yourself. before you can give to others, you need to fill yourself. That's why I always tell my students that every day when you wake up in the morning, spend 1 hour minimum on reading other people's work. And I see you, Faizan, all the time when somebody posts something on Facebook, let's say their new research, you're one of the first ones to always tell people that please send that article to me. I want to read it. And that's how you develop yourself. Even if you are one of the best researchers in the world, that doesn't mean that you know everything. So even today, I am a professor for 20 years now, full professor, have done all the things that academic have done. Like right now, Faizan is an assistant professor. Hopefully soon he will be associate professor, but there are these ranks. Even then, the learning never stops. So read other people's work. When you read other people's work, you are doing two things. One, of course, you learn about what they have done, but the other one is that these gaps in your mind is happening. Oh, they have looked at, like I just gave you an example, virtual reality research that we are doing. We have given people this virtual reality device. We have shown them one of the 4 destinations, and then we ask them questions about that destination. So I am reading now a lot about that field to be able to see that in my research, what is it that I need to do more, or whether there is a gap to be able to do. Once you do that, once you identify the research topic, identify the gap that's going to fill that particular thing, then you will do all the research methodology, which we're going to go into a little bit in soon. You are going to make that better. But one also other thing that I just want to share with you, with everybody, just recently in Trinet. Trinet is a listserv that for the tourism researchers. I think there's 4 or 5,000 people. There was a lady, she posted an email there. She is actually an academician that came from the industry, and she was telling how the research that we do not actually help the industry, that she was talking about the gap between. So for that reason, another thing that I want to tell all fellow researchers around the world, that when you are doing research, theory is wonderful, great, and we need theory to be able to base our research on. But you always need to spend some time that how, what are the professional, practical implications of my research? What kind of problems that this is going to solve? For that reason, I always recommend everybody that once you do research, of course, publish in the peer-reviewed journals, top journals, SSCI, Scopus, all that stuff. But on top of that, please try to turn your research into 1 page, 2 page professional article, and share that your research in a professional magazine, journal, or website where that people can also learn from your research.
Thank you, Dr. Jihan. I also want to thank everybody who is here. There's quite a lot of questions coming in directly. So just to make it easier and also quicker, what I'll do is I'm sharing my screen right now. There are some questions about how to find research gap. Just want to say that if you go on this channel where you are right now, and if you subscribe, there's a bunch of videos already on that channel about some of the topics that you are asking. So because,
research
yeah,
gap.
because the time is limited, so maybe I'll direct you to some of these videos. Somebody asked, how do we find research gaps? So there's a video I just did 2 days ago on how to find a research gap. Then somebody asked, I think Shahab asked, what is the difference between conceptual framework and theoretical framework, which I did a month ago, and that is this video, refining research ideas and literature. Somebody asked about how do we critically do the literature review. Then again, there's a video on the channel about how do you write literature review critically, which is there. So some of the things that, and then someone also asked, how do I find the research topic? So here was another video that I did, finding research ideas and finding research topics. So some of the questions I would highly recommend you to get into the channel and check some of the videos, because some of the videos are very specific to the questions that are being asked. But again, this is only, yeah, this is only because the time is limited. I mean, we have limited time to ask, and I want to answer most of the questions in this session.
And experimental research design is also there. There was a panel.
Quite a few. I think I have wonderful friends from different countries, especially developing countries, who just got their jobs in a year ago or this year or a couple of years ago, assistant professors who are having a lot of trouble with, especially with private universities where the teaching load is a lot and then there's research as well. So, that type of stuff. So we did a very interesting panel a year ago almost, which was challenges of an assistant professor in maintaining research pipeline. So I have, I guess, 5 assistant professors at different levels in their careers, which they talk about a lot of stuff that they do. So I would highly recommend this video to people who just got their job as an assistant professor a year ago, 2 years ago, to watch this video. Very interesting insights into life as an assistant professor. Okay, so Dr. Jan, thank you for sharing your views on that particular topic. Let's go into some questions related to journal, because you also had multiple journals, right? You had
Right.
a paid, not a paid journal, but a commercial journal by Emerald Publishers, but then you also have some open access journals, which are truly open access. So let me ask you this question. Somebody asked that the number of submissions, this is Jem, he asked, number of submissions to journals are increasing, number of journals are also increasing, and many editors are struggling to find reviewers. Are you worried about quality control issues?
Right. That's a great question. You're right, Faizan, that Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology is published by Emerald. I think the classification is not paid, but it's for-profit journal
For profit,
publishers.
yes.
Yeah, Emerald is a for-profit publisher, and for that reason, submitting and publishing articles in JHTT are free, but accessing those articles once that's published is not free. And as an editor, that's not under my control. It's something that Emerald as a publishing agency does, which I respect. They do a lot of great work. But for that reason also, that M3 Center behind me is the organization that I work for. I'm the director currently. Thanks to here also to John McKibben, who made M3 Center available for us with his generous gift to the University of South Florida. We created 2 journals that are 100 true open access. One of them is Journal of Global Business Insights, and you can access them by m3center.org. And the other one is Journal of Global Education and Research. So these journals are open access, publishing, submitting article, and accessing articles 100% free. Obviously, it's not free. Somebody is paying for it. In this case, it's the USF, University of South Florida M3 Center. So Jem's question about the finding quality online reviews is a very valid one. For GHTT, it's a little bit easier, and I'll tell you why. Because it is indexed in SSCI, Social Citation Sciences Citation Index. SSCI, as many of you know, that it's the highest, kind of like the first league of journals. In hospitality, I think that there are more than 350 journals in hospitality tourism area, and only 9 journals are in SSCI. So when I ask somebody to do a review for GHTT, it is a bit easier because I reward reviewers. What I tell always the young reviewers, usually assistant professors who have finished their PhDs, and also whoever is watching this video, if they are interested, I mean, this stream that we are doing right now, maybe after it's being recorded, if they would like to be a reviewer for JHTT, JGVI, or JGAR, please let me know. I'm happy to accept you as what we call ad hoc reviewer. So we give you for 1 year 6 papers a year. That's the agreement that I have with my reviewers. And they need to turn on the reviews on a timely basis. That is usually 21 days. And also they need to provide a impactful, useful review. Sometimes I send a paper to a reviewer and he or she sends me good, bad, good, bad, perfect. Those people, I never send them any more reviews because that's not really constructive criticism. You can reject a paper, you can accept a paper, you can send some revisions, but you need to provide these good feedback to people. And so that they can make their research even better. For that reason, when I make agreement with the young researchers, I tell them timely and impactful, useful reviews. Then after that, I take them into the editorial advisory board. For the JGBI, Journal of Global Business Insights, a Journal of Global Education and Research, those two journals, it's more challenging, but I always tell people that if we don't have these good reviews, we're not going to have a good journal, and that's going to help. And to be honest with you, for a good two reviews for each paper, I have to send about 8 to 10 review requests to people. So if as an author, and that's a message for myself and for you and for everybody, if you want good feedback for your paper, please pay the favor back by doing good reviews for others. And I know Faizan yourself is reviewing a lot of papers, and I'm doing, even today I have 2 reviews that I have to do and finish. This is how it goes. We need to spread the wealth. You write many journals, many reviews, and I also would like to tell all the young researchers who may be watching this video right now is that please volunteer to review. Don't wait to get that invitation from an editor. If there is a journal that is your passion, that is in your area, reach out to that editor. Tell him or her that I want to be an ad hoc reviewer. Please send me papers. This is how you can get to the editorial advisory boards. That's number one. Plus, also remember, reviewing papers for journals is an amazing professional development for yourself, because you get to read that research before it's even published. So if you are reviewing in your area, you are going to get this additional benefit, besides giving back to the your fellow researchers, but you're also gaining as well too. So look at that from that perspective.
Thank you, Dr. Cihan. Actually, if you remember last year, we did a very interesting panel on the benefits of academic review. And it's also available on my YouTube
Your channel.
Yeah. Which I think that all the young researchers should definitely watch, because like you said, not only it gives you insights into unpublished work or work that has not even published yet, but it also increases your knowledge of how the discipline is moving forward, because many of these papers are breakthrough. Many of these papers are talking about new theories or theory development or extension of theories or some very interesting findings that you can take and work on them for yourself. Think about how many things are changing around us now. Even if we take the example of this coronavirus or COVID-19, publishers have already published some papers on it. Think about people who reviewed those papers, the insight into that initial data about this coronavirus. How many ideas does it give you to work on? So it's definitely a very rewarding experience reviewing articles. But then on the other hand, it's not always the greed, but it's also the passion of your love for doing things. I think that pretty much everybody would agree that, this profession that we are in, like research and academia, it's not to make you rich, because I really do not know any rich professors. It's not. It's your own personal interest or passion that brings you into something like this. So giving back as a reviewer is such an amazing thing. It just enhances your passion of being into this profession. So, again, if you do not review yet, try to review. Those of people who are watching right now who are academics, like assistant professors or associate professors, I think it's also a responsibility on you to train the next generation on how to review. I mean, I remember, and I'm always so thankful to Dr. Muslim, who was my PhD supervisor, on how did he teach me to review papers. So whenever he got a paper to review, he would give me a copy to review as well. And then he would sit down with me and match my review with his review and just guide me on
great
what,
training.
which was really, really interesting training, because we see that if you look at it critically, there are a lot of workshops. In fact, I was a part of a very interesting research seminar series for the last 16 days that was done by some amazing people in Pakistan, Dr. Sajid Bashir from Namal University. Very interesting. But look, if you look at the conferences, if you look at webinars, a lot of online things, many people are actually training young researchers or even experienced researchers on how to write, how to become a good writer, how to make your paper publishable, you know, stuff like this. But then everybody who writes sends it to a journal, and then the journal has to send it to a reviewer. But then there's no training for reviewers. So it doesn't matter how much we train people on how to write, but if we don't train people how to review them, we still have a problem, because sometimes you see reviews are not that good, right? So I think that everybody should really look into how do we review papers and start reviewing papers, which gives a lot of, you know, a lot of motivation, at least to me.
Right.
So
Faisal, you have a also in your channel something about reviewing papers. I remember
yes, Dr. Jihan, there is one webinar,
one video,
one
right?
panel, which was
Panel
benefits and challenges of academic review.
review. So
So,
that's
which
great. All right.
again, I think it's a very good panel, and people should, because the people on this panel are really, really seasoned researchers. And in fact, I guess all of them are editors as well, because I remember Stan was on this panel, Professor Matin was in this panel, Uli was on this panel. So all of them are editors, and all of them are pretty seasoned researchers. So I think that, you know, very, very valuable panel discussion in there. And then, okay, so again, some people are talking about journals, like how do we find the journal, or how do we know if this journal is the right journal for me? Again, I would refer to one of the videos on my YouTube channel, which
Can
says
I say
how.
something about that,
Yes, I'm
Faisal?
coming to you.
Uh,
Yes, go ahead, Dr. J.
about that finding that journal, I just want to say something. It just happened to me. Just yesterday, I got an email from a journal said that, dear Cihan Cobanoglu, we have read your work. You have amazing research, which sounds amazing. And you read that first, and then says that we would like to invite you to submit your paper to blah 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 journal. I may even have shared that in my Facebook, and then said that review time is 1 week, publication is 4 weeks. If a journal tells you this is a journal that you should not publish at all. A good journal will never send you review in 1 week. Nobody does it, right? Even if it is the best journal. As a matter of fact, as the journal gets even higher in quality, that review process usually takes even longer. So my recommendation to all of the, besides watching your video, Faizan, you have done a good job there in terms of finding a good journal, is that to be able to look at again that publications, right? When you start reading whatever topic that is in, you are going to get a sense of the not only the articles but also journals that they are being published. So SSCI journals is top of the list. So if you go to just type SSCI list or SCI, right? If you're in science, Science Citation Index, or if you're in social science, Social Sciences Citation Index, that list, and Scopus, if a journal is part of a Scopus. And the other one that I want to give, DOAJ, Director of Open Access Journals. If those, because those are the organizations that really filter the journals. You have to do a lot of things. JGBI and JGAR, those are the two open access journals that I'm involved. M3 Center publishes them. We are actually going through a lot of different things. We have to prove to those organizations that we are doing the peer review. We are doing everything transparently and in a scientific manner to be get accepted into those. So SSCI, Scopus, DOAJ are the three ones that I can tell you that you can start. Doesn't mean that others are all bad journals. If then JGBI would be one of them, but they are still good. But look at the clues, right? 1 week review, publication in 3 weeks, 2 weeks. Those are all red flags that you should stay away. Publishing, sometimes it may be, especially for young researchers, publishing quickly might be something that you say, oh my God, I need to publish quickly. I need to do it. But believe me, publishing in those kind of journals, which we call predatory journals, are going to damage your professional life more than it helps you. Maybe it may appear that you get that check mark. Okay, I got that publication for my promotion, but in the long run, it's definitely gonna hurt you.
Thank you, Dr. Jan. So there's a question which is related, and because you talked about predatory journals, there's one person asking that I just came to know about a newly started MDPI open access journal where the publishing is free for 2020 only. However, I know which journal is this. This journal's name I would rather not mention here, but the fee for this journal is close to $2,000 if you want to submit your paper. To be specific, it's $1,750, and I have published 5 to 6 articles there. Is it worth to submit a good paper in journal like this?
Yeah, for that viewer, I would just say that, look, first of all, publishing 5, 6 articles in the same journal is not good. In my opinion, you should go into different outlets. Finding, again, I don't know how many articles that particular person has. If you have 50 articles and five of them in that particular journal, maybe that's okay. But if you have 6 articles and 5 of them in one journal, and that's a paid journal, that might be not very professionally advisable, at least for me. That's my opinion. I respect everybody else's opinion. What I want to tell this person and the other viewers who might be in the same, there are so many journals out there that is maybe this, there's one journal in our field that is paid journal. Okay, it's open access, but you got to pay a reasonable amount. That's perfectly fine journal, but my recommendation, if this person was my student or my colleague who came to ask me, what I would tell him or her is that go and find another journal that doesn't charge money. There are many, many journals that are like, for example, for profit publishers like Emerald, Elsevier, Taylor's and Francis. Those are the main ones that come to my mind. They have a lot of great journals in which that you can publish freely, but then access is a problem. Those publishers also have a model what they call is open access. So you have to pay a little bit money for your article to be open access so that the citations increase. But with a little bit of research, you can find those journals that will not charge you huge amounts of money, which is a strain, not just for developing country researchers, that I know that some of these publication fees are even more than 1 month's salary in some cases. Or you mentioned, Faizan, I think this person paid $2,000. That's insane, in my opinion. That's so much. There are so much alternatives that you can find, and I'm happy to answer those questions in private. You can access me from this m3center.org, anahi.org, or Cobanoglu.com, which is my website, which my contact information is there. So happy to help individuals. Faizan is helping a lot of people also, and there are many, many great researchers like Muslim Amin we mentioned. It's our, Faizan's another mentor and my good colleague right now in Malaysia. We will be happy to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Jihan. I also want to say, like some people, and this happens with a lot of Asian countries because there's so much pressure of publishing, like people are pushing everybody to publish, especially when it comes to SSCI journals. Like you have to publish in SSCI journals. Even students who are going through their PhD, they have to publish before they can graduate and stuff like this. So last time when I was in China, I went to multiple universities to speak, and this was a common question. It doesn't matter which university you go to, it doesn't matter who are the students, but it's the same question. Is it good to publish in journals that are charging, but the turnaround time is quick, like 1.5 months? I have a couple of things about this. One is obviously like if I'm interviewing somebody, let's say for a job, and I understand journals, my first question would be, why are you publishing in a journal that is charging you $2,000 compared to like thousands of journals that are free to publish in, right? Why? What's the reason? Then the other thing is we should understand that editors are also human beings. They understand. So if you are into a situation where you need to get your paper published soon, as far as your paper is good, right? If the paper is good, you can definitely send an email to the editor saying that I'm into a situation like this, where my promotion is based on this paper, or where my graduation is based on this paper. So I would really, really appreciate if you can, make it fast track, or send it to reviewers who would send it back soon to me. I know Dr. Jan, you send me emails sometime, or Dr. Fevzi Okomo send me emails sometimes saying that, hey Faizan, this is a paper, I want you to review it in 3 days, or I want you to review
Corona
it.
is a good example, right? And also
Corona is a very
tourism,
good example.
Anatolia
Very
has
good
published
example.
papers
Yes,
already.
and you know what's so interesting about this whole situation is that even if you look at the papers that are published on corona, they actually started a new category. So now when you look at the paper that is on the website, it actually says fast track publication, because some people are going to still question, like, how is it possible you submitted it on 15th of March and then it's published on, let's say, 28th of March? I mean, people ask questions. How is it possible? How is the review process possible? It is possible if you are telling the editor that, okay, I'm in a situation like this and I want to get it, Now, yes, maybe sometimes editors cannot do anything about it, but most of the times editors would understand because they've gone through something like this. So instead of going and paying somebody $2,000 or $1,500, just try talking to people and it would work for a lot of you. I personally don't think that it should be charged. Now there are obviously some very good journals, specifically in some disciplines, that have to charge because it's a cost recovery option or something like this. But then in that case, you also have to go to the editorial board of the journal and see who is on the editorial board. I mean, me personally would never be part of an editorial board of a journal that charges people to publish their work. I'm sure you won't do that as well. And I
No,
know that a
yes.
lot of people that are pretty big names in our field won't do that. So if you don't see people that you know pretty well, seasoned researchers on certain editorial boards, I think you should avoid publishing in journals like that. So that would be my take on something like this. Okay. Now, Dr. Jan, very interesting questions. Okay, this one I've been part of a lot of these type of questions. So, and I'm going to synthesize some of the questions together into one so that it's easier for you to answer. Multiple people ask about, okay, is a smart PLS a good tool to learn? Is NVivo a good tool to learn, right? So particular softwares. But then
Right.
some people are also asking, like, I'm good at this software. Should I also learn another software? So let me put it into one question, and that is, are there any popular research softwares or popular research methods in social sciences that we should learn?
Right. That's a great question, Faizan. I also get that question also too. I always answer this question that it's asking, should I drive a Ford? Should I drive an Audi? Should I drive a truck? Should I drive a sports car? So this question is akin to this kind of, the analogy is similar. To be honest with you, if somebody starts the research process by saying that I know how to use Smart PLS. Smart PLS is free for 2 months or whatever that is, or you already have that software, or Amos, or you have SPSS, or you have whatever, NVivo, for example, or RapidMiner. Those are the, if you start your research process with the tool that you are going to use, I think that's a big mistake, in my opinion. What you should do instead is your research question. What do you want to do? I always give the analogy is that instead of thinking about which car you're going to drive to get to from point A to point B, let's say you are in Florida, where I am currently in Sarasota, and you want to go to New York by driving. So instead of thinking about what kind of car I'm going to drive there, you need to really understand what I need to do. I'm going to drive from here to New York. So you need to create a map first that will tell you that that's the best way, maybe the fastest way, or um, short way, gas, but more time. So what's important for you? Once you determine that, then you can say, what what are the ways? Am I going to use a Greyhound bus? Am I going to drive by myself? Am I going to do carpool with other people? That's like co-authoring with other people, or solo driving by yourself, or whatever that might be. So once you determine that, If your research requires you to do an SEM, right, which is the structural equation modeling, then you can start asking this question to yourself. Am I going to use EMOS? Am I going to use Smart PLS? Am I going to use R software? Whatever that is, then your knowledge, if you already have Smart PLS and you are going to do this, yes, you should learn. Also, the question, I already know Smart PLS. Should I learn other software like NVivo, for example? And again, that question goes back to the same answer, is that it depends on what your needs are. And Vivo is our good friend, Dr. Lodhi, Rab Nawaz Lodhi from Pakistan, is an expert, and he came to several of our conferences that Anehe and M3 Center actually has organized and explained NVivo. He always says that NVivo is a qualitative research analysis tool. So you can put interviews, you can put videos, you can put text over there, and it will give you the results. It will analyze you. So just learning NVivo for the sake of NVivo is really not going to help you. If you don't do qualitative research, maybe your field is doesn't like qualitative research, or you are not a qualitative researcher, you may not have the data. If that's the case, then learning NVivo is not going to help you. But if you want to use mixed methodology, let's say that you've done a quantitative study before, and a good example from what's going on right now. So, as Faizan have mentioned earlier, the service quality measures are changing, right? When we go to a grocery store, how social distances, they put like marks on the floor, and they wipe the carts, and they put all these things different. They take X number of people in the store, so you have to wait outside. In a normal time, this could be terrible, but now in the times like this, you appreciate. So the service experience is changing. If you want to understand this and you want to do a qualitative research, you can do maybe interviews, or you can even look at people's behaviors by recording video. Of course, you have to get the approvals before you do that for the research. So my, again, take on this one is that please don't focus on the tool that you are going to use before you know why you are going to use this tool. Once you know that you need this tool, yes, definitely. And to answer generically, the more software you know, the more knowledge. I'll give you a good example. If I did not attend Dr. Lodhi's NVivo training session that he did in Istanbul last September, and I would have known that you could analyze videotapes, for example. Oh, that gave me an idea. Oh, that means that I can maybe record videos and then analyze them by using this particular software. So that's a okay thing, but not just, don't focus too much on the tool as the first step. It's definitely important step, but it's not the first step.
Thank you, Dr. Jihan. I also want to say that, it's important because these days I see that many people put on their CVs that I'm an expert in this software, or I'm an expert in that software, or I know this or that. I think that for all the young researchers, especially those who are into PhD or MS right now, it's very important that you understand the method and not the software, because softwares update consistently. Think about Windows, think about Microsoft Word. Yes, the basic utility is the same. Windows is operating system. But think about Windows 98 or Windows Millennium Edition, and now think about Windows 10. How
Oh,
has it
Unix.
changed?
We had Unix
Unix,
before.
Linux, things have changed so much, right? For that matter, any particular software, it has changed considerably, but then the basic utility remains the same. So I think that if, let's say, somebody wants to learn NVivo, do not just focus on where do you click and what happens after you click. That's not important. What's important is to understand why are you clicking there, and when some output comes, how do you interpret that output? That's important. So let's say if you want to do thematic analysis in NVivo, it's not only NVivo that does a thematic analysis. Even Microsoft Word has a very simple add-on or plugin that can do thematic analysis. Or we have atlas.ti that can do thematic analysis. So unless you really understand what is thematic analysis and how you can do that, there's no point of just knowing where to click in a particular software, right? So it's important to understand the logic behind those tools that you are using. Then also sometimes people ask questions like, why should I not, why should I use NVO or Atlas.ti when I can do manual coding or manual themes or stuff like this? To this, I feel like if you have interviewed 5 people and you can manually do coding, yeah, by all means do it, because that's the thing you have to do. But let's say you interviewed 20 people, everybody had like interview for 2 or 3 hours, then why would you spend so much time on doing something manually that you can automate and do it faster? Because time is money for everybody, right? So the choice between manual analysis and using a software is pretty much about how much time do you have. So if you have a lot of time, then do it manually. It's the same if somebody asks me like, why do I have to use SPSS to calculate Cronbach alpha when I can do it using a simple formula? Yes, you can do that formula, but it would take you at least 5 minutes to get that Cronbach alpha, where you can do it within 3 to 4 seconds on SPSS. So, just something like this, that would be my intake on that. Okay, so Dr. Cihan, because the time is really running very quick, we are at maybe another 5-10 minutes.
Yes.
So let me go with some other interesting questions. There's another question, and that is, how do we develop collaborations? Especially this one come from one researcher from Pakistan, and I was telling you yesterday that I have met amazing people in Pakistan who are really, really good researchers. But for that matter, not only Pakistan, I also know that there are really amazing researchers in Malaysia. I know some researchers in Indonesia. Turkey is another example, unbelievable, like the talent people have. But unfortunately, people in the West or some developed countries do not know about it, and then it becomes difficult for researchers from developing countries or where English is not the first language to have these collaborations or networking with scholars from other countries. So how can we develop these collaborations?
Very good question, Faizan. You and I have a story to share about this. As a matter of fact, I'm very proud of the fact that, I work at University of South Florida. I always tell people that if there are one of the credits that I can take is the fact that Faizan is part of our faculty here now. As you can see, he's touching many lives, and how I met with Faizan is good, maybe a good answer to this particular question. That I met him in 2013 in UGBA conference in Thailand. Muslim Amin, again, his mentor, I guess encouraged him to go to this conference where I also attended as a keynote speaker at that time. And this is how we met. And, if you are like me, anybody who talked to Faizan about 10, 15 minutes, understand how smart and intelligent he is. So I try to recruit him immediately to my university. And I'm, again, very happy and proud to call him as my colleague here. Today, we are doing this session as well. So another ways of doing this, if maybe somebody is going to tell me that, Professor, you're telling me going from Malaysia, at that time Faizan was a PhD student in Malaysia, going to Thailand for a conference cost a lot of money. How can I do that? I don't have a lot of money. That's perfectly fine. Conferences is an amazing places. Today, unfortunately, we can't have them because of Corona, but hopefully the day will come soon that we'll go back to the conferences. Conferences is an amazing way to meet with people that could serve as your collaborators. That's number one. But that's not the only way. Today, technology is helping us so much. What I would recommend doing is that get involved with social media. Social media, even though, yes, you can maybe for the girls to share your new lipstick or new clothes or what you're eating in a restaurant, which is all good. I'm not criticizing that, but there is also a very important other benefit of using social media is to create this professional network that you create. There are many, many groups, doctoral support group, right? The Professor Adnan, I think her name, if I'm not mistaken, she created that group. Be involved in that group, for example. People go there, they ask questions, and if you know the answer to a question that was asked answer them, because the more that you be are involved, the more that people are going to recognize you, and then you may be even invited to a research study. Or there is nothing wrong with reaching out to a person who, let's say that you are working on hospitality and tourism technology. And I get that sometimes people reach out to me by email or social media saying that, Professor Jihan, I would like to work with you. Here's my idea. What would you say about this? Or not even say, I would like to work with you, but here's my research idea. I need feedback from you. Can you please help me? And I, most of the time, that I never say no to these kind of requests. And after creating this particular trust, that I know that you are a good researcher, you try hard, then I have collaborated with many people in that regard, even though I've never met them face to face in my life, even before Corona, right? When we could have go travel freely, that I didn't meet with people, but yet I publish with them, and that's perfectly fine. So social media is one of them. Emailing to people, sometimes calling, asking them to come to your Zoom with you, whatever that might be, is a great idea. And I always tell people that you need to create a professional team where you can create 4 or 5 people. You can work on of course, these people need to have similar research interest. You can have very different people on that one. So and one of the things that I want to express to especially my friends from developing countries, including Turkey, where I am originally from, is that please have self-confidence. The people, researchers, they are also human. They are not different than people. So we breed to do the same thing. Approach them. Hey, maybe you email to a famous professor in America or in England or Australia or wherever that might be. You don't get a reply. So what? That's okay. You can try one more time, maybe. If that person chooses to ignore that email for whatever reason that might be, let that be. Don't take it personal, because that person might be maybe busy, maybe your email going to his or her spam folder, whatever that reason might be. Just go on. Try to create that. Again, being active on social media in those discussion groups where research is being taught, especially in the same research area you are, is going to create an amazing platform for you to develop some co-workers. And also, one thing that I want to tell to everybody, that sometimes this happens in developing countries, that just because there is a, let's say, established professor in a research theme, that person, even though he or she may do 5%, 10% of the paper, that person is putting as the first name is not fair. So technically, when you create these research teams, collaborators, I always tell that open communication from the beginning is a really key to success. The way that I always go with is the name order. When you publish an article, the output is a research article that you're going to submit, must be in the order of the contribution. If the first person author has put 50% of the time, the work, that person's name should go, and it will continue like this. So again, be active, have this self-confidence, be active in social media and other places. If you can go to a conferences, please go. Conferences, that face to face in today's Corona days, that everybody probably would agree with me that nothing replaces face to face. Go there while that person is having coffee, talk to him or her, tell your research idea. Don't be discouraged if that person is not interested in you. There will be some people, so just go and try. Don't get demotivated about that.
Thank you, Dr. Jihan. Actually, I also have a couple of things to share about this one. But before this, I see that there are quite a good number of people watching on YouTube. I just want to ask if you guys feel that you are getting some value out of this discussion or this talk, and if you want me to do it in the future as well, please comment so that I know what's the demand. And if you know something like this you feel is good for you, just comment in the chat so that I know that you are getting some value from it. Also subscribe to the channel if you want, if you think that it's valuable for you. I mean, marketer, right?
Absolutely. But it
So,
is definitely an
uh,
amazing channel.
yeah. So, okay. Now, Dr. Jihan, about these collaborations that you said that, personal interactions are very important. I actually want to mention, so of course, you shared my story and yours, how do I know you? But then I also want to mention a couple of other people who are my very, very good friends now and, pretty much like lifelong friends. One of them is Dr. Kashif Hussain. He is at Taylor's University. You know him very well. Uh, I got to know him through Facebook. I mean, I literally had no clue. We were just
You're
Facebook
from the
friends.
same country.
Yeah, same country, everything. And in fact, when I was applying for PhDs, I emailed him. At that time, I was in UK and I was looking for PhD positions, and he guided me very well. But then I didn't go to that university because of certain reasons. But anyway, to cut it short, 3, 4 years down the road, me and Dr. Kashif are on Facebook. We were friends, never talked to each other, and then for some reason, he messaged me, which was also interesting, but I don't want to share it here. We talk, and then a month later, I was working with Dr. Kashif at Taylor's University as a research associate, and it just converted into such a beautiful brotherhood. Now it's amazing. And then the other one is Dr. Kisan Ru from Sejong University. Again, you know him very well. He's a very, very good friend of me. And you know that he especially comes to different conferences just to meet us, just
Yeah.
an amazing guy.
Came to
Uh,
Istanbul.
Yes, but what's interesting is how do I know him? When I was writing my PhD literature review, and Dr. Muslim knows this, that I read a lot of his papers because they were so similar to what I was doing. And one day I just thought maybe why not email him and ask him if he would be interested in working with me on one of the papers. And then that email, and then now is just unbelievable friendship. Just that one email. It converted into such a beautiful friendship now. So again, like you said, email people, and sometimes you just don't get response from somebody, and that's completely fine because even you don't like everybody, right? But it's not only about liking; it's about another person might not be working on research at that time. They might be going through something difficult in their life, so there may be a lot of things. We shouldn't be jumping to conclusions all of a sudden, or maybe putting ourselves into a sense of inferiority or something like that. It's okay if something doesn't work, try another thing, and that may work. Somebody asked a question which was very interesting. I think it's Mr. Zafar. And after this, I'll take one more question and then we can stop. That is, if sometimes you have to use some scales in your research, and these scales are copyrighted to the author, right? What happens if you really want to use a scale, you have emailed that author multiple times, and then there's no response from the author. So how do you deal with something like this?
That's a good question. So if the scale has been published and there is no copyright, meaning that you don't have to pay money to be able to use that scale, you can use that scale. As obviously you have to cite them properly, but if the scale is something that you have to pay money or get permission, if it is specifically designed, and in many cases, if a scale is published as part of a research article, that may not be that. So if it is protected by law, obviously you cannot use that. So what I would say that you would just use maybe alternatives, or maybe you can even create your own scale for that matter. And there are many, many resources available, including Faizan's channel is creating a scale for that reason. And the other thing that I would like to tell you is that um, when you look at that particular scale, that look at the articles that have used that scale. So maybe, that Zafar Iqbal, I think, asked that question. Now, for some reason, I can see the questions on YouTube channel as well. Earlier, I couldn't see it, but now, and the other thing that I would say is that go and look at the articles that use that scale that you're interested. You imagine that you reach out to the author, that author did not give you or did not reply for whatever reason, and then ask those the other articles that has used that scale, ask them what they have done. So as long as you do the things in order and do your best to be able to acquire that permission, then I think you are going to find a way for this.
Thank you, Dr. Jihan. Last question, and I think that is a very important one. And that is that many universities around the world now, they are asking the faculty members to publish in top tier journals or SSCI journals. And this requirement is yearly, which means every year you have to publish 2 or 3 papers. So how do you cope with something like this? How do you manage something like this?
That's another good question, Faizan. My answer to everybody on this is pipeline. Pipeline is the answer. What is pipeline? What do I mean by pipeline? Research is usually takes long time, right? You need to create the idea. If you are going to have collaborators, find those collaborators, do the review literature, develop the research questions, then create the survey instruments that you're going to use, not necessarily survey, but whatever that might be, collecting data, analyzing data, and writing the results. And that one is, if I were to say, let's say this process is, let's say 1 year process from beginning to the outcome. Imagine, okay? So when you start in the beginning all the way to the end, if you don't do anything else, then publishing 2, 3 journals in top journals, top publications in top journals is going to be challenging for you. That's why what I say is that pipeline is important. Start one research, come to that review literature, let's say section, okay, let's say 1 month, 2 month. Then you need to start another process, maybe in your brain, maybe come into that fruition. And as you go into that first research, remember the first research into collecting data. Let's say you decided your research questions, you know what your instrument is, and now you're collecting data. That collecting data be quantitative, qualitative, whatever that might be. Or it could be a review article, right? You're looking at other articles. Then your second research should be in the review literature mode while you're collecting the first article. Then the third article. In my pipeline right now, I didn't count, but I probably have 10 articles, which is like, imagine that you're cooking, right? There are 4 or 5 different burners in your stovetop. If you were to cook, for example, stew, you're going to put that first, right? So you're going to put the meat, that's going to take a long time. But if you're going to do rice, and if you want them, all of them come at the same time or one after each other, then you are going to put another into this back burner. Then you're going to put another dish on the other burner. So this is research. Pipeline is the answer. And again, back to the question of collaboration becomes more important here, because you can, if you have collaborators, good collaborators, let's say 3, 4 people that you work together, everybody can take a piece of the work. So with the effort that you would create one article as a solo author, you can create 4 articles with 4 people. Each people are taking a lead in an article. The other person is supporting that person, and you can have those kind of things. And as you go into the Faizan is sharing my website here. As you go into that particular, the other has results section. You go start the other one. This is how you can have a high production, in my opinion. So that's the pipeline. Have multiple projects in different stages and keep going with them.
Thank you, Dr. Jian. Thank you very much. And then, of course, for those of you who do not have contact detail for Dr. Jihan, this is his website. Again, like he said, he maintains it pretty well, everything he does, and then all his contact details and everything is here. Those of you who are joining from Turkey, I'm pretty sure that you know Dr. Jihan. He also shares stuff in Turkish, which is a separate section.
About scholarships.
About scholarships and things. So you can look into his website. For me, well, if you know me through Facebook, you pretty much have everything that I do on Facebook. If not, you can follow me on Facebook through Research Beast, because my friends are already 5,000 on Facebook. So I don't think I can add anybody else on Facebook. And then I also have an Instagram account for Research Beast, as well as a YouTube page. So Those of you who are not subscribed to it, I apologize that we couldn't take more questions. I mean, obviously there are a lot of other questions, but because of the time
Which is great.
limitations, its time is just so, and then because of this, it motivates me to do this more, these type of sessions more and more, instead of showing softwares answering questions of people that they have in their mind. So I'm pretty sure that I'll be doing this very regularly. Also, some people ask questions very specific to specific methods or specific softwares like NVivo or Smart PLS or something like this. I'm already talking to some experts in it. In fact, I talked to Christian Ringler, who is the developer of Smart PLS, and he is happy to do these type of question and answer sessions with me. But he said that maybe people can watch some of the videos on how to do certain analysis. And if they are stuck, then we can do a question and answer session to answer those questions. Same is the case with Dr. Abnawaz Lodi. He also told me that he would be willing to do this type of a question and answer session. So if people can do NVivo, they have questions, then my friend Dr. Rabno Azlodi is willing to answer those questions. And we can do this for multiple methods. In terms of softwares, I already have some tutorials on the website, on the YouTube channel, but we can always extend. In fact, Dr. Jihan also has a YouTube channel. He also shares a lot of videos, and recently, I guess you did one on Zotero, which is a reference manager, right?
Zoom
That's on,
and Zotero
and
as well.
Zoom
Yeah.
and Zotero and stuff like this. So again, for those of you who are online, if you think that there's some value for you in this type of sessions, I would highly recommend you to keep following on YouTube and on social media, and we'll keep doing these type of things. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Jihan, for your time. I'm pretty sure that everybody have got some value from this, which I see from the comments that everybody is thanking you as well as me.
Thank you.
So thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Faizan. I also want to thank you for doing a lot of great things like this. And also would like to thank all the viewers. Please share the wealth. The more you share, the more you get. Thank you. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
day.
Bye-bye.